No, Mr. May, first order of business is to swear in our fiscal officer, Mr. May. Raise your right hand. I, Frederick L. May,
I, Frederick L. May,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of fiscal officer of Auburn Township,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of fiscal officer of Auburn Township,
Geauga County,
State
State of Ohio, during
Ohio,
my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Fred.
Okay, we have some minutes.
It looked good to me, so barring any additional comments, I'll make a motion to approve.
I agree, I'll second.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes. Okay. We have a scheduled report here from Mr. Kiko, our zoning inspector.
For the month. Everywhere we process, or at my mark, we process 19 total receipts. And here again, we have 5 new dwellings for the month, which brings it to 7 for the year. We do have 2 potential variances to here. If all paperwork is in, I don't know if it was all in. And we did have some accessory building to fill it out. Quite a bit of correspondence with variety from the prosecutor's office in reference to the one case involving, they are not going, the case involving a lady that had animals in the subdivision. That case has been dismissed. They're not coming for judgment entry. So I don't know exactly how it stands, but I believe we will now move forward and get the process going to have everything removed. I don't know, they were going, at first they asked for an extension. They wanted a 10-month extension, and I said I don't think so, especially since you moved additional animals in. So now the latest was that they dropped the case, so I don't know. Brady was going to do some investigating and get back to me this week, so that's about it.
Okay, any questions for Frank? Mr. Gordon.
Okay, Auburn Township Road Department report for March 2016. There were 2 other events during the month that required 3 rounds of plowing and or salting. We did use 30 tons of de-icing material for those 2 events. Currently we house a little over 200 tons of material in the dome. Coal patching was done on various roads with a total of 2 tons of material being used. We're using that material up as we go. The asphalt plants I anticipate will be open before the end of April. And then we'll start using the hot mix. The relocation from the old garage to our temporary facility was completed on March 14th, where we are currently housed. And if anyone wants to find us, we are down on Route 44 between Washington and 422 on the east side of the road. Roadside mowing, brush and tree removal were done on Ascot Lane, Thorpe Road, Brookfield Road, and Adam Hall. And the Adam Hall Trail, by the way, PG, we are taking care of that for the last couple of years when the plants come down in there. The balance of the spoils, they were removed from the service garage construction site as we were told to do, which what we had there. And that was taken off-site and dumped at the dump site. We did have a rash of road sign thefts. Signs that were replaced include Stella Lane, Timber Trail, Curry Lane, Creighton Lane, and Taylor May Road. And there's a pattern here that when we have spring break from high school, a real sign's missing, so go figure. We did do some minor ditching on Quinn Road, and I do intend on going back there and doing some more ditching on that stretch. There was one full interment for the month, and during that time period, we did top 3 grades with some topsoil while we were in the grade yard. Once again, before Memorial Day, we did go into the cemeteries and we take care of the graves that have settled over the winter from previous years that we put in, and do some more brush removal and tidying up the cemeteries. And that's what I got for you.
Okay, any questions for Emmett?
We gotta do some fence repairs up there. Do we put posts in, or you want Donnie doing that?
Donnie did it.
I only see one broken post.
Right, the west side in the front, there's one there right here. If we get that, PJ, if we get the uprights and the rails from them, we can do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's not as much as we have some years.
In the past, correct, yeah.
I wonder if we ought to be thinking about putting a fence on the west side of that cemetery now. You know, there was always talk of maybe expanding into that west
Right.
parcel. Obviously, we're not going to do that anymore because we're in good shape.
Right, yeah.
You want to think about that?
I would, would certainly,
Yeah, if we don't have a,
if you want, like a wood fence, is that what you're?
I would probably just the same split rail we've done. I mean,
Something to do with it.
you're supposed to do the perimeter as well.
Perimeter's right.
We always thought, in fact, there were discussions over the years of getting that property to the west, and that won't
it's not
happen.
necessary now. So.
No, that won't happen.
Yeah, why don't we just get a quote for getting that done? You can try to get it done before Memorial
There's
Day.
graves there already, and
And the last time, PJ, remember we have that as indigent, the last row there?
Mhm.
So actually the ones that are there are one lot ahead of that to the east. So there's one right on the ditch line is the last row there.
it can be wet over there.
Right.
I'm sure we won't have it up on Memorial Day. I don't think I'd even want to try, but probably time to put a marker fence up there.
We'll get that surveyed. I think we had that surveyed a few years back, that west line. We'll do that again and see where the fence will lie then.
Do the graves bump right up to the line there?
Let's have it surveyed first. They bump up to the ditch line.
To the ditch line?
Yeah, to the drainage right now they do.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Troyan?
Just one thing, I'll confirm pricing for our large item drop-off. Historically, we've had $7 per carload and $10 per truckload. I think those are reasonable prices. And then this year we'll also be not charging seniors. Discuss that. Okay, I'll make that a motion just so
I
it's
would
on the record.
add to that Auburn residents only too.
Right.
I'll second that.
Tires are what, 8? They're free, but they're 8 up to 8.
Eight maximum, correct?
Yeah, but no charge.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Okay, and I got a message in Jeff Markley. I just want to get confirmation on, as soon as we can get the information of what the rain day would be on for the 3rd of July. So as soon as I have that buttoned down, I'll let everybody know. We still haven't had haven't had a meeting on it yet for the 4th of July, so trying to get that set up so we can get those things finalized. Okay. That was it.
PJ?
Yeah, just a few things. I got this meeting over the USGS stalled out water study that the county's been doing. That's tomorrow over in Bainbridge.
6:30.
Yep. We have a speaker for Memorial Day, so now that's all going to be, now we'll start putting all the details together around it. It's always get a speaker committed is kind of the big thing. So, playground, did a little math up here. Actually, I got here. The base material that we're going to put in to go underneath the two pieces we got from Gardner's School, which will take up about 1,700 square feet. We've been kicking around a 5,000 square foot playground, 50 by 100 approximate. And that would be about, probably not quite half of what the playground was over at Gardner in its entirety with all the swing sets and everything else. We got the borders out from around a 5,000 square foot thing. So that's kind of where we started with this. Like I said, about a third of it would be taken up by these two pieces from Gardner. Some cost on that to do the minimal excavating underneath the mat. It's like a fiberglass mat they put underneath. And then the wood chips on top, I think we talked about at the last meeting, would be about $8,800 in that initial installation. But that includes the borders at a cost of $3,600 and freight, so basically about $4,000. We think we got a lot of that already.
Yeah, I think we have the borders, don't we?
Well, I think most all of those are going to be usable. Some of them are crashed up on the end, some of them flip over and, using the other. But I think we got, so we're besides maybe some fill-in things for when those are broke, we're at $5,000 for the initial wood fiber and the mat. And then there's follow-up, there's maintenance on it early on, as you would expect these things to settle and move and everything else. The first year, you'd have to reinstall some more material at, I believe it was 3 months and then 6 months. This is per recommendation. This is what we can expect to get into. About $8,000 for the playground base for the first year. And then every other year you can look at about another $1,500 to $2,000 to top it off. That's every other year after that.
Okay.
But the first year expense, it's kind of big, it's more than you would expect for dirt, but that's how it's done. We've been talking about what size to go with, so there's that. Not sure that well, actually, I know it's not. It's a nice start that we got from what we picked up over at Gardner School. But I think to get all age ranges covered, we probably ought to add a couple of smaller pieces or
I think it's
in short order in
prudent
installation time. There's been some talk about, and looking at some of the funds here, that we could probably go somewhere 8,000 to 10,000 on additional,
Yeah. Well, so I
which
think,
would fill up that initial area. It
well,
would
we
make
all
some
agree
sense.
swing sets kind of a necessity for
Traditional. Yeah.
traditional. You gotta have swing sets. And then I was looking at some of the different types of equipment, and there's a bunch. I think Nancy had a good idea to contact Play World and get their recommendation on if we were to give them let's say an $8,000, $10,000 budget based on the equipment we have. What would be the logical things to add for the
Right off the bat. Yeah.
right off the bat?
and the top plate.
Right.
Yeah.
So that we can get the whole thing laid out. Because if you start putting the equipment in after the fact, you're going to start tearing up the wood chips, you're going to have the additional expense.
Right.
So I think if, she said he's out of town right now, but I think if we can get a recommendation, if we just pick a figure of what we want to do so we can give them a ballpark saying, okay, here's what we're trying to do, here's our budget, and then that would give them a guideline as to the direction we want to go in.
Now, also, and I've been throwing this in the mix here too, is this NatureWorks grant through Watershed Partners. That's still in play. It won't come in time to do what we want to do this summer. It just won't. It won't be approved. Financing won't be through. But as I said earlier, this 5,000 square foot thing we're doing, it's nice. It's certainly better than what we have, but it's not the size of the Gardner playground, you could reasonably double this, I think, and be done with a playground.
Okay.
And that could be part of this grant. I have had some discussions with some of the other applicants. As I said, $36,000, I said last meeting, is going to be available to this conglomerate as a whole. And there are 3 townships, one of them being us, that's going to make an application. And I have talked to one of the other townships, and I said, yeah, I could see going a third. I think $12,000 would go a long ways for that second part.
Sure.
And I would think we would have a playground that would fill a lot of needs for a lot of years, to do it that way. So I want to continue on with that grant thing.
Sure.
That application.
Well, I think, though, we want to get something for this summer.
Absolutely,
So
I do.
I think your budget idea is a great idea. I don't think $10,000 would be crazy as a budget number. And then we give this guy something to work with.
Okay.
If, I think we found out we have to use this professional advice.
Right.
'Cause,
He was pretty helpful over there at the school. He was.
yeah.
When we were tromping through the snow, deciding what was usable and what wasn't.
I think that is your motion, Mr. Everly.
Sure.
I will second.
Mike?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes,
John?
Yes.
that's all I have.
Okay, Fred.
Okay, I got a couple of things here.
All right. Take as
First
much
off,
time as you'd like.
First off, we have your regular reports in front of you. Your fund summary report, appropriation summary, and revenue summary reports, as well as your payment listing for warrants 2945 through 2969, totaling $26,078.38. Next item I have, we need to do a little bit of housekeeping. The leftovers from last year. Last year we advanced $400,000 from the general fund to Road and Bridge, and we need to move that money back into the general fund. It was meant to be a temporary float for Road and Bridge till they got the tax revenue for the first half of this year. That's already come in. So in order to do that, I need a resolution from the board, and we need to take this to Court of Common Pleas to get an order to transfer that money back out of the restricted fund to the general fund. So, if you'd like, I can read this in the record.
All right.
This is resolution number 2016-10, resolution supporting the transfer of funds from the Road and Bridge Fund to the general fund. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, that in a regular meeting on April 4, 2016, at the Auburn Township Administration Building, with all the trustees present. Whereas Auburn Township transferred $400,000 from its general fund to its Road and Bridge Fund on September 10, 2015, for the purpose of paying a contractor on a road improvement project in Auburn Township, that mainly being the Stafford Road project, in anticipation that these funds could be moved back to the general fund after 2016 first half taxes were received into the Road and Bridge Fund. Whereas the $400,000 transferred funds remain in the Road and Bridge Fund and will not be moved back to from the Road and Bridge Fund to the general fund without board order pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 570516. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds it necessary to transfer the $400,000 based on the anticipated 2016 budget and to follow the procedures as outlined in 5705.16 to properly transfer the funds, be it resolved that the Auburn Township Board of Trustees finds it necessary to transfer the $400,000 from the Road and Bridge Fund that was transferred on September 15th, 2015, from the general fund back to the general fund, in accordance with sections 5705.14 through 5705.16.
Any questions?
No, that's the Stafford Road thing that we were
Make a
aware of.
motion that we adopt resolution number 2016-10.
Second it.
Mike?
Yes.
EJ?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And then, do you want me to get into the bond documents?
Sure, go ahead. We'll just cross that off right now.
Well, we've invited Mr. Brian Martinko from Middlefield Bank and Mr. Ryan Callender from Square Patent Boggs to join us here. Middlefield Bank is the lender for the new service garage, and Square Patent Boggs is our counsel on the bond that's being issued to finance that. And Square Patent sent over a whole bunch of documents, and I gave each of you a packet of documents that are the affecting documents for the bond resolution. So we passed the bond resolution back in December, and these are the documents that would be executed to affect that. There's a, well, I don't know that we need to go through every one of these in detail. A lot of these are certificates, a lot of things that I have to sign, stating that there's no pending litigation regarding our bond, stating that the auditor has received a copy of the resolution. Some other things that I have to certify on here. There are some documents that have to be executed by Middlefield Bank, and then there's towards the back of your packet, there's this form, registered R1, that would be executed when we're ready and the trustees are comfortable. That would be executed actually by the trustees, I believe, and certified by the fiscal officer. So, since I'm not an expert in this field, I asked Ryan to come here and kind of explain what these documents represent, what the process is, and then if Ryan and Brian could sort of explain their roles in all of it, because it's not entirely clear, because this is so new to us, what the role of the bank is and what the role of the bond counsel is. So if you guys wouldn't mind, maybe Ryan, you could start.
Sure. Fred did a very good job of going through them. Ultimately, my job is to provide you with the process and the documents to obviously legally and totally above board issue the debt. And at the end of the day, the bank is going to look for a legal opinion from my firm that I'll sign that everything was done according to Hoyle. And when you get up above not very much money issuing bonds in the state of Ohio or anywhere in the country, any political jurisdiction, the investor, the bank, or an actual investor will demand that. That's a commonplace thing for the last 100 years. So that is the reason the documentation is, it's our interpretation of the Ohio Revised Code of everything you have to do. And each of those certificates, and every word I guarantee you in those certificates, is meant to comply with various sections of Chapter 133 or your own township chapter. Ultimately, again, you're going to issue the actual bond form, and that's, to me, is always the most important document. And so if you're looking through those, that's the actual bond form, R1 that Fred had mentioned, is what will be signed and eventually given to the bank as a security. It's essentially is the note. If you're looking at it just as a loan, it's the note that's guaranteeing that you're going to pay the bank back on the amortization schedule. The other important things in there, all of it's important, but this will be a tax-exempt debt, meaning that the investor, the bank, will not pay tax on the interest that you pay them. In order to do that, you might imagine the Internal Revenue Code has a few little provisions you got to comply with. So we also have the tax compliance certificate. That's probably the largest document in there. For a township like this, it's pretty easy to qualify for that because you're clearly a governmental entity. You're clearly using the money for governmental purposes. And you certainly have a plan to spend the money fairly quickly. Those are the things that the IRS is really worried about. But that document, that's what that's covering, is to make sure that you, in fact, are doing that. And by pretty quickly, I mean within 3 years. And it sounds like, probably within, 8 or 9 months, you have the money mostly spent. So with that, I mean, I'm more than happy to go through any particular document, but I also don't want to send people to sleep either, so.
The letter at the very back of the package is pretty much what you just went over.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that letter is my opinion, or our opinion, that we'll sign. So what will happen is, we'll finalize these documents when we determine a definite date that we want to close on the bond issue. Well, a few days before then, we'll have you sign everything. Everything will come back to me. I'll ripple through everything and make sure everything's in order, sign the opinion letter, and send the actual bond form of my opinion letter over to the bank. That'll be done a day or two before you actually close the transaction, much like a house deal or something. And then on the day you close the transaction, we'll confirm that I've officially released the opinion, and you'll confirm that you have the money in your account.
Yeah, so, I mean, just to be clear, Squire Patton Boggs they're our attorney.
Correct.
We're relying on their legal expertise to walk us through this process and make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So, we are relying on Mr. Calendar's expert opinion here. And I did run this all past our prosecutor, past Bridie, and she said that, these guys, this is their specialty. We can rely on their expertise, and that's what we should do.
I can tell you this is the only area of law I've practiced for 17 years, so I'm kind of pigeonholed.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, or?
No.
Okay.
So, maybe this is a question for Brian, actually. So Middlefield Bank is the quote investor.
Correct.
In the documents, and then once all the documents are executed, I guess from my practical point of view is we would pretty quickly have access to the funds at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
As soon as everything's...
Once everything would be signed, we deliver to him the bonds, all of the money would get transferred. It wouldn't come in
So we're not going to be doing draws. We'll actually have
the full $2 million.
a $2 million transfer
Right.
into our...
like Ryan said, this is, it's a loan, yes, but it's viewed as an investment.
Okay.
So you're putting up this bond, and we're the investor in the bond.
So they're purchasing the full.
Okay.
We're purchasing the full bond from you.
Are we requiring a separate debt service fund under this agreement? Do you, either you know?
You will, by Ohio law, you have a bond retirement fund.
Yes.
And that's where the monies that you pay the debt service for would come out of.
Right.
So
Okay.
the money would go into a project account.
Right.
Will the auditors set that account up, I guess? That'd be my question for you, Fred.
Yeah, we have the debt, we already have a debt service fund, and it can go into that same fund that holds the money
For the truck loans.
For the truck loan and stuff. So I'll have to talk to the county auditor to have them make sure that they withhold those funds from our tax advances. And then we will, just again, talking through the process here, we'll either set up a separate account in our funds to hold that money, or immediately encumber it in our system somehow. So we just want to make sure that revenue doesn't get commingled with other revenue and spent on what it's not supposed to be spent on. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Do we want to set a time to execute these documents?
We could, I mean, it kind of depends on how soon we need funds. We could wait till the next regular meeting. I know that we do have an invoice from Hummel Construction that is waiting, but what's our next meeting date?
18th, I think.
We really have probably till the end of the month to pay that
So it'll work out fine.
invoice. So if we get everything signed on the 18th and get it to Middlefield Bank, we may have money by the end of the month, and they can wait a couple days if they have to.
Okay. That
So,
would work fine.
Yep, sounds like a great idea.
You're gonna get the documents back to
Yeah.
Ryan.
So if we come up with, if I could have you work backwards and come up with the date that you want to close on the bond, because that date will permeate throughout the documents that I'll have to revise.
May
So-
2nd is our meeting. That's when you want us.
April 18th, or, I mean, for closing would be the date that we sign, right?
No, the closing would be maybe at least 2 business days after.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So if we said April 20th or the 22nd, even going to the end of that week,
Yeah.
we signed on the
Sign on the
18th?
18th?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
We could do that.
that would be
Okay.
our intention, to
Okay.
get it executed. the
Okay,
next
so
day.
I'll have these documents revised to indicate an April 22nd closing.
Okay,
And
and
we'll
that
work on the amortization schedule to make.
gives
sure-
us time to do a little bit of due diligence and just look through everything and make sure we're thinking
Obviously.
it's okay.
Fred knows how to contact me if you have any questions.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to.
All right,
All right? That it?
thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get your signatures on one thing that has nothing to do with, it's just purely just the application from the original that we put in there. It doesn't
Probably
bind
time
you
to
to,
apply now.
doesn't
Yeah.
bind you to anything, it's just one less thing at the end that we would need your signature on. Get your signature there, just above your name.
So this is,
This is just
we're not
saying that you
getting a new
applied.
loan or something?
No,
next
this
time,
is
yeah?
just saying that you applied. Yeah,
Okay.
tied in with the bond. It's just our paperwork. I'll just set this together. If you can just sign just right above, might go there. Unfortunately, there's only 2 spots there. Get your signature.
Well, mine too.
Just right above. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Well, welcome to stay for the rest of it. It gets really exciting from there on in.
As much as I like.
Yeah.
And that is all that I have.
Couple things here, kind of to give us an update on where we are with the Serb Scratch construction. The last day or so, we've come to a little bit of a standstill due to the weather, but Jim is working very diligently to keep this thing moving along. Each of you have kind of an update from Jim Dixon. We had the buildings all laid out at the site. We've got some of the site work's been started, the civil work's been started, and so really probably one of the things they want to do is get the old footers filled in and then start digging the new footers, because the old building's inside of the new building. We did have some soil samples taken. We don't have the report back yet, but preliminarily they look pretty good. Nothing that was, if you remember on the fire station, we had some really, really bad ground.
Right.
And that was immediately obvious when they did the sample, so nothing like that happened, and Jim said he would be surprised if we came back with anything that was a problem to us. If it doesn't dry out, he may get some dry dirt, some fill to fill in these existing 4-footers. But we do have some, I can't remember exactly how many days, but there's days each month that are built into the schedule for weather. And at the end of this whole project, I think it's almost 2.5 weeks. He said that he's built into this for weather, so we're not in any danger of falling behind yet. As Emmerich will attest, we've operated out of the temporary yard, and even a little bit of ice didn't slow us down too much. But instead of jumping in the trucks that were all in a nice warm building, we had to, freeze out the locks on the doors to get in them first. So, but we still got her handled. We do have a couple of issues here that we've been working on. It's our last road project, and I thought we might jump down and handle this. We need to pass a resolution to order the drainage improvements and asphalt resurfacing of various roads, including East Washington Street and Whisperwood Circle. They prepared these resolutions for us. We would go out for bid here on bids would come back on the 2nd, May 2nd, which would be still a nice early bid opening for us. We kind of combined both of these projects into one project due to the similarities of the contractor. There's some drainage work that needs to be done. It's not just all resurfacing down there on that Washington stretch.
5 culverts are doing down there.
And so, you kind of hopefully we can get our best bang for the buck by combining it with this culvert work over here at Whisperwood Circle. Emmerich, you have anything you want to enumerate on that project?
The Whisperwood Circle project, that's a 60-inch CMP, which is corrugated metal pipe. It's the original pipe that's run its course. The bottom's rusted out. During the last July 14th storm, we did have a lot of erosion around that pipe, but we didn't have a sinkhole open up in the road right away. We did visit that situation a few years back, and we were given the time frame. And unfortunately, we didn't meet the 9 years. It kept within 5. The pipe is over 30 years old. It's time to go with the CMP. What will happen now is the length will be replaced, I believe, it's with RCP, which is round concrete piping. It'll be approximately 140 feet long. And during this excavation also, we will do the surface of Whisperwood Circle. If you remember a few years back, we patched the entire circle and the extension there to buy time to reach this point. And that patch held up, thankfully. So that's that project. What comprises the East Washington project is drainage, a cross-culvert pipe under the road, as well as possibly replacing some of the driveway culvert pipes, along with the asphalt resurfacing. Once again, the last resurfacing on that was 1985. It's been chip sealed and patched since then. And that's one of the things also, once we do the East Washington Road project, it's on the receiving side of the Washington Road project. The engineers will be doing within the next 3 years, I think, is their time frame. So this update will be in place in order to receive those the drainage that's coming down across 44.
I think just to piggyback on that Whisperwood, we have a situation up there where We're not exactly sure, because this took place a long time ago. There's a couple of, was that a 16-inch?
There's an 18-inch
18-inch.
from a pond
Yeah.
that they purged the side of the...
Purged into the side of this 60-inch. And anyway, this is going to get corrected. And we're not sure how this ever came about. It's long before our times, but it was a bad situation as to how they fit together. It was. The other thing that was interesting is the culverts were put in backwards.
Correct.
30 years ago. And so you know how you flow like a shingle. And well, these were the other way. So we'll have all that corrected. And I would think that, we could enjoy 30 years of,
70s, Whisperwood?
76, 77 for Whisperwood, Shadowwood. This is the early 80s, right thereafter. And what happened since the cul-de-sac is atypical, you don't have your typical frontage along the road. What they wanted to do was to make sure that they could utilize this last piece, or the piece of property, which would be at about the 3 o'clock, but when you enter the circle. And what they added there was an additional 60-inch pipe, actually fit in the wrong way into the cross-culvert pipe. And I guess the township must have had something to do with the developer there and allowed this in order to make that parcel sellable. So you can access that parcel, because you couldn't access it. But we did, in the end here, we did get the time out of the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
and
That's pretty good for
At
that.
this point in time, to my knowledge, a pipe that size, we only have 2 more in the township, and they're aluminum. And we just had them checked by the engineer this summer, and they're still in great shape. So. And what they do now is they use the concrete. So.
Right. Well, we need a motion to, that's not the order, that is to,
I think we need
Resolution to order drainage improvements.
resolution order. Okay. You got a number on that resolution?
Yeah, it's
2016-11.
Yeah.
Motion to adopt that resolution.
Second.
Mike?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
It used to be resolution to proceed. Let me change that.
Okay. Back up to the engineers. All right. What else do we have here? We did do a large item. Snow school's coming up, and we're going to be sending 3 guys. This year's our 3-guy year, $35 apiece. So I'll make a motion to send 3 the road workers to the NEO APWA workshop at a cost of $35 each.
I'll second.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, coming up next meeting, we will have some bid openings. And that'd be the chip seal and Ascot and Belmont Lane reconstruction. So we'll open those up at 7:35. Anything else, gentlemen? Any comments? Yes.
2 rooms that are interesting to me, 2948 and 2965. The first is CCT Financial, and the second is a Burnham and Flowers bill. Haven't seen one of those for a while, so I'd be interested in an explanation.
The CCT Financial is a new company that's financing our copy lease, the copier.
The copier, okay.
So that'll be $115 a month. And then the Burnham and Flower invoice was for my new bond, actually. I have to be bonded every year.
$913?
Yeah.
Really? What kind
Yeah,
of
the
bond
fiscal
are you
officer's
under?
always bonded at a pretty high amount, so the bond obviously costs.
So what is the bond amount? I never knew that before.
You know, I don't know offhand, and we just had the bond here.
Does that get registered in common pleas court then?
Pardon me?
Does that get registered in common pleas court?
No, it goes to the treasurer. How much? You know, I'd have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing, because years ago when I asked about that, it was some dinky little $1,000 bond, and
I'm sorry?
Years ago, before your time, the bond for the fiscal officer, it was pretty dinky. So yeah, I would be curious to know what that new face amount is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to contact them so I can find out.
Okay, but it's stored at Hitchcock's office, is that right?
Yes, you can send to the treasurer. Okay.
If there's nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 year from now will be 2017. It sounds very obvious, but that marks 200 years for Auburn as well as Bainbridge.
Right.
And Bainbridge historical people are planning something. They're just trying to start the planning. I can't even say that anything exists as of yet. And I belong to the Historical Society there, and they just suggested that I stop by and let you know that there's a meeting taking place on the 20th at 6:30 at Bainbridge Town Hall that deals with the planning of that. Additionally, a member of the Historical Society is trying to put together a book on Bainbridge as well as Auburn, and she's writing the Bainbridge portion, and they talked to me about writing the Auburn, but I don't know if somebody has something already written, if somebody would
Glad you brought that up. We haven't worked with the Historical Society. We have been talking to Bainbridge trustees, and I think the early thoughts are next year's fireworks will be preceded by probably a Bainbridge-centric event and probably one in Auburn.
Oh, 2 separate events?
Well, and then we'll culminate with the fireworks thing,
Okay.
which will be like the grand finale. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I think we're trying to coordinate, because we're going with the same vendors. We're going to ask the same sheriff's department for, a lot of the same people are going to be involved in both of the deals. So we're trying to put it together a little bit, but we also want to have something Auburn specific too, since
Okay.
we have a park and we have the ability to do such things. We have quite a, I got to get your name and number here. We have quite a bit of information going back to the sesquicentennial.
Contact info.
Okay.
To the sesquicentennial from '67.
Oh.
And we're kind of, the early thoughts are maybe to recreate stuff that might work from there and do it again. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a beard growing contest. But there's probably certain things that'll work kind of for a throwback, And then with some new events. And probably, I'm thinking maybe, and everybody's we're early on this, In fact, we got the attention of a couple of townships across the county because we've been starting to talk about it, and there's been some things in the newspaper. I heard from Newberry the other day that, hey, what are you guys going to do? You know?
Is their anniversary the same?
It is. Most of the
okay.
county is 1817, except for Chardon for sure, because they're done. Theirs was 2011. I think maybe Burton. There was a couple townships that were earlier. But most of the rest of the county is 1817. Now, how you do a countywide thing, I don't know. You know, we're kind of lumped together
Yeah.
with Bainbridge, so it makes some sense, and we're already doing the fireworks thing
Yeah,
that Mike's
right.
been working on.
It's a perfect venue to kind of...
Yeah.
I looked at some historical stuff. There used to be a Geauga County Settlers Association way back in the day, and it was a countywide thing, I imagine, because perhaps the townships were so sparsely populated. They could only have a collective if they included the whole county, and it was very interesting. You know, the stuff they did. They were very, I imagine, historically centric organization with festivals and so forth. And in fact, they did have like almost an annual thing back in the day. So I just want to bring it to the attention that they seem to act like maybe not everybody knew about it, but that I should. Okay. All right. About the writing of something, I'm interested in it because I have ancestors and distant cousins that came to mostly Auburn. Mm-hmm. And my great-great-grandmother's buried out back. And so just that's why I'm compelled to be interested in having something written.
We've got some, Jean Fugman put together quite a...
Yeah, and the one woman gave me her name.
Yeah, it's here. Nancy's got everything kind of cataloged in the library.
Okay.
A book around here somewhere with all...
Ray Andrews, Don May.
And you say a book around here in this building?
It's in this building.
Oh, okay.
She's got a file cabinet over there.
Okay.
And, you know, she moves stuff around.
All right. Well, I'd like to...
It's here, because this has been, you know, we've been talking about the bicentennial for a year and a half, 2 years now. Honestly, nothing is beyond concept stages yet, really. Other than
I think Bainbridge is in the exact same
other
state.
than the fireworks thing. I mean, we know we're going to do something to acknowledge the 200 years there.
Are we going to reenact maybe the War of Auburn and Bainbridge?
Bainbridge and Auburn had a war.
It just ended like
Just reenacted a few years ago.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm glad you came tonight, and
Okay.
I certainly want to get your name and address, and we'll be talking.
Yeah.
And I have had a couple people call that they would like to be involved in whatever planning or whatever needs to be done to get something going. But you know, I think we got the venue. We got 2 venues that we're going to use, and we just got to fill an event in. You know.
Okay.
Judging from the few things we've had up here at the park when it really was barely even a park, I think we're going to get some people. So at least for the Auburn event, and we know the fireworks will drop. So
Okay.
yeah.
We had over 5,000 people at the fireworks last year, and so we're looking for probably more this year.
Okay.
But we want to make that special for the 2017 one somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do. There must be something that's.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what they're going to have at that the Bainbridge one. I have no idea if that'll be helpful or. But they told me to.
The fireworks thing is a
You know.
joint one. Auburn's we hold it at the school because that's where the parking lot is to hold that kind of crowd.
Right. That's the only venue between the 2 townships that's big enough.
So, but that's a joint effort of both townships, and we see that as kind of the wrap up to our bicentennial thing next year. But we're going to do something Auburn specific, probably at the park weekend before, maybe the day before. It depends on how everything falls together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're having that event. They told me to tell you.
Well,
And I don't know.
I'll look forward to talking to you too.
Okay. Do you have time after this or?
Yeah.
Okay.
A few minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other motions, guys?
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We might have something.
That'd be terrific.
Mike?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.